The relationship. Many mocked the relationship, calling it a monster beauty pairing afterwards. If you look at one of the famous photographs, Hitler in civilian clothes, wearing a hat, a German shepherd at his side, leaning slightly forward, while a young curly haired blonde woman stands beside him. This is Eva Braun on the picture. It almost looks like a kindly uncle posing next to his playful, naive niece. The dear Uncle Adolf, it's on this picture. And this picture says a lot about the relationship. Yeah, this picture is the picture where we see a nice uncle who takes the little niece to the ice cream shop and lets her play with his dog. And Goethe chose this photo for her book cover. It's like a cover photo. And she wanted also to make clear that the two, Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun, they had also something like an ordinary relationship. This is also interesting, and that in her book it is also suggested that also this relationship was in many regards very, very ordinary, and it had also a sense of normality. Perhaps this is the main message also of the historian Goethe, that although this relationship was a strange one and complicated, to be the mistress of the Führer, it cannot be easy. For he was not an ordinary man. We know he was like created and crafted by the Third Reich propaganda as a messianic, almost superhuman leader figure, and so on. We know that. It was still at its core a very ordinary relationship, although we had this propaganda picture, like Hitler knew through the media, with all the ups and downs. So the relationship was also full of ups and downs, as we see anywhere in the world. Every relationship knows. This is also the thesis of the most recent scholarship of Eva Braun, we can say. It seems that contradictory information has survived about the true nature of this relationship. Now let's have a look at the life of Eva Braun, like some facts. Eva Braun was born in Munich in 1912. Munich was the town of the movement. Munich was the town of heart for Adolf Hitler. He liked the town. It was his new home, we can say. He came from Vienna to Munich, but Munich was the town he chose. It was like the town where the movement, like he says, were born. She came from an unremarkable lower middle class family. Her father, Fritz Braun, was a teacher, at least at a commercial school, thus belonging to the higher tier of civil servant. It was a quite classical conservative family. After the Second World War, an old acquaintance described him as a harmless fellow, someone who fit the image of a man with a beer in his hand, a pipe in his mouth, and a cat on his lap. That, in other words, a boring, petty, bourgeois, grey type of man he was. So this was the household she grew up. Eva Braun had two sisters, both of whom survived the war and lived up into the 1980s. The elder one, Ilse, distanced herself from National Socialism, like officially. Much was written about her. She even worked for a Jewish doctor for years, a man who later had to emigrate. In 1937, Ilse took a job at Albert Speer's architectural office. This was the time where Ilse also get opportunistic, like to have advantaged from the relationship Eva Braun had with Adolf Hitler. How far she truly distanced herself from the regime is a very questionable matter. The behavior could at best be described as classical opportunism. Ilse Braun's second husband, Fucke Michels, was linked to art objects looted by the Nazis. So we can say that also she profited from the relationship Eva Braun had with Adolf Hitler. In contrast, Eva Braun was much closer to the younger sister Gretel, Margarete, who belonged to the inner Berghof circle. Gretel practically clung to her sister and later married the ambitious SS officer Hermann Fegelein. Yeah, Fegelein was known as a Casanova who never missed a chance, nicknamed Handsome Hermann, der schöne Hermann. His marriage to Gretel was motivated mainly by career ambitions. Yeah, the career ambitions Fegelein had. Fegelein initially looked down on Gretel, calling her a stupid goose, a simple cow, I don't know exactly, simple soul, as Traudel Junge, one of Hitler's secretaries, recalled in her memoirs. But once he learned she was Eva Braun's sister, he pursued her to improve his own prospects. He also cultivated a secret closeness with Hitler. So now that he had become a member of the family. So this was also a possibility for Fegelein to get closer to Adolf Hitler. Paradoxically, this marriage, on the other side, granted and benefited Eva Braun also because the official relationship Fegelein had with Gretel, was for Eva Braun something like giving her an official status, since Fegelein worked directly for Hitler, making Eva Braun as his sister-in-law. So Fegelein worked with Hitler, he had to do with him, and then it was quite natural that Eva Braun was also there. That's everything, because she was now officially linked to Fegelein. And it was not... because it was always difficult to explain what was the relationship Eva Braun had with Hitler. So they had to explain it before others. So they said, she's my secretary, I don't know. And now she can say, my sister is the wife of Fegelein. And Fegelein works for Hitler. Fegelein, however, was disgraced shortly before the end of the war in April 1945 because he tried to flee, stealing jewelry and other valuables. In the last days of the world, he did not even inform his pregnant wife of his escape plan. Hitler considered this as an act of treason, flew into a rage, and although the Russians were already closing in on central Berlin, the Russians were ready before the doors of the Führerbunker, Hitler didn't care. He ordered the Gestapo to execute Fegelein. So they had to go out in the streets where the Russians were very close. Eva Braun, and they get him and executed him. Yes, Eva Braun tried to intervene in the last moment, but withdrew when she learned that Fegelein had cheated on her pregnant sister. So Fegelein was not interested to have the relationship with the sister, and she was pregnant. 2 days later, Hitler and Eva Braun committed suicide together in the Führerbunker. Less than a week before, Gretel Braun gave birth on May 5 to their niece, Eva Barbara Fegelein. So also she called her little baby after Eva Braun. In 1971, the young woman, always called Little Eva in honor of her aunt, committed suicide by ingesting poison after a fatal car incident involving her boyfriend. So also this little girl Yeah, from Gretel also she did suicide like Eva Braun did. And now let's speak more about the relationship between Eva Braun and Adolf Hitler. And now some hard facts about the relationship between Eva Braun and Hitler. Yeah, how it developed, the tragic side of it. Hitler and Eva Braun met in 1929 for the first time when she was only 17 years old and Hitler already 40. Yeah, we see here a big difference in age. He immediately noticed her. Hitler especially sought the company of very young women. This was his specialty. He liked the very young, naive. Maybe there he felt more secure, more potent, more experienced, and so on, because Hitler had a lot of fears inside of him. We also learned from Walter Langer the psychology. He was full of difficult anxiety. Yeah, and then when you have a girl from 17 years, maybe you're not so afraid of her. He invited her to dinner and, like other young women, to the theater, to opera, and created the impression of the gentleman. After the death of Geli Raubal, the, the daughter of his older sister Angela Raubal, in 1931, Eva Braun took over the role of Hitler's secret mistress, companion, or lover in 1932. Because before, Hitler had a relationship with Geli Raubal. And after this, after Geli Raubal was dead, he changed, we can say, over to Eva Braun and having her like the full-time mistress, or mistress, like the main mistress, we can say. Eva Braun took over the role like from Gilly Raubal. The relationship demanded complete secrecy. Hitler, the messiah of the German people, like the propaganda stated, he could not marry officially because Germany was his bride, he always said. For years, she was treated like a kind of private secretary. They always said she is a secretary, though everybody knew she was Hitler's lover. This was an open secret. In 1932, she attempted already for the first time suicide because she felt neglected, likely seeking to draw Hitler's attention. It was not a full scale suicide, it was the type of suicide when the woman tried to draw the attention. The relationship was not exclusive. This was the main problem, and Eva Braun continued to feel sidelined. So she attempted suicide a second time later on, this time with pills. In 1935, Unity Mitford, the beautiful English girl with the Nordic style, Nordic looking, 1 meter 80 tall, young Hitler considered the embodiment of the Nordic ideal. And she, Unity Mitford, became a serious rival. Yeah, she was also in love with Hitler and tried to get the attention of Hitler. In addition, Hitler was constantly surrounded by many other young, attractive, also actresses, for example, and this occupied his attention. So he sometimes invited this woman, then another woman for a dinner, or I don't know. And Eva Braun felt to be lonely, and this was the reason for the suicide. After her suicide attempt, Hitler reacted. He reacted a little bit with surprise. He didn't expect this from Eva Braun, and maybe he also felt some guilt, and there he tried to make something for Eva Braun, like to give her something that she would feel better.